after graduating college, you need to build up experience to have a job, and it's really hard.
I want South Africa to create job for us, a business. As now, I am a soldier and I'm looking for a job.
I've been currently unemployed for 3 years. I'm looking for any kind of job that will sustain me and who I am and who I stay.
As an unemployed youth, I think it would be nice if we had like jobs in entertainment or practical things like cooking, being taught how to do business, selling some stuff that we create on our own.
We're not working, we're just sitting, we have nothing to do, we need help to get a better jobs.
I would also look for a job, whether it's helping at the schools, at the hospital. I am willing to do that now because since I'm a single mother, I need the cash.
Any job is fine for me.
According to Stats SA, it is the youth of South Africa that continues to bear the burden of unemployment in the country. The official rate of unemployment is around 34%. That number is closer to 64% for the youth. Statistics are not just numbers, but they are a real reflection of real people in the real world going through real issues. Today, we take a look at the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative program that has been put in place to help tackle the crisis of unemployment in the country. We also take a look at some of the impact that it's made over the year, and we also look at how we can and should be taking advantage of the program. My name is Jesse Suntele, and welcome to the PYEI Report, Episode 1. Let's go. I am joined on today's episode by the CEO of the Gauteng City Region Academy, as well as the PYEI project sponsor, Ms. Percy Moleke. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. And how are you?
I'm very well. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure. I would like to get straight into the show if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. We opened today with a statement by the president declaring unemployment in this country a national crisis. How has the government's response been on the ground to that statement?
Thanks for that. The government has tried to respond in various ways. We will recall that there were announcements made by the president where he declared, particularly after COVID, that there would be initiatives to support society and businesses with respect to this. And overall, government has been very concerned about the youth unemployment in particular. And some of the initiatives that have been put in place had to do with ensuring that our young people are placed in opportunities that will enable them to firstly get some kind of income in a form of a stipend to alleviate poverty and their situation, and secondly, help them to gain some skills and experience that will help them as they participate further in the labor market, because we know that part of the reason why the youth bear the brunt of unemployment, as you've indicated, is partly because with most of these work opportunities that are available, they require them to have some experience. And in the absence of experience, then they are left out of the labor market. So some of the initiatives that government have put in place has to do with helping young people and give them an entry, what we call a foot in the labor market, so that they can get some experience and they can put something on the CV that is impressive. They can convince the next employer that they are able to wake up in the morning, be on time, and perform certain duties. So government has been trying to put initiatives that help young people get a foot into the labor market. And the PYEI was one such program that government has put in place to do that. But there are many other programs, but today we are talking about the PYEI.
Of course. Now, you mentioned earlier on skills development. You mentioned experience. So tell us about how the program specifically, maneuvers in the education sector, as well as, its initial inception in 2020 as the Youth Brigades program, and then till now as the PYEI.
So we all know that in 2020 we were hit globally by the pandemic,
yes.
COVID-19, and pretty much every economy shut down. But as we were maneuvering and trying to figure out this COVID, one of the things that became clear was that we have to make sure that the children goes back to school.
Right.
But we didn't know what was going on. None of us knew anything about COVID. And so some of the things that were coming to the fore were the protocols about sanitization and temperature checks and so on.
Social distancing.
And all of that. So if we take children back to school, they have to adhere to these protocols.
Right.
But children are children. How do you tell them to social distance and they hear you and they keep to it? So then we thought maybe we should help in that regard. And as Gauteng, we then tried to bring in young people to help in making sure that they manage the situation at the schools and ensure that the children at school adhere to the protocols that were in place at the time. So because as Gauteng City Region Academy, one of our mandates is to address the issue of youth transitions, we then diverted the budget that we had. And we said, let's kill two birds with one stone. First is addressing the issue of protocols in the schools. And then secondly is ensuring that our young people, despite the fact that we are in a pandemic, it's a sad situation, let our young people benefit from the pandemic. Let's see good in the midst of this bad that we were facing.
Yes.
So then we redirected our budget and we started a program called the Youth Brigades. And we put young people in the schools and paid them some stipend to help the school manage the protocols related to the pandemic at the time. And it worked like a charm.
Yes.
We put about 10,000 young people in the schools across Gauteng in 2020. And we paid them a stipend. So they would be at the schools, they would take temperatures, make sure that during break, these children social distance. We know the mask, right? The children didn't want to wear the masks. So, they would make sure that they are wearing the masks and so on. We also put them in the transport, those who use scholar transport. So we made sure that, in the scholar transport as well, there are young people, these youth brigades, make sure that when they get onto the bus, they put on the mask, but first they sanitize and the mask is on. If the temperature is high, then we turn the child back, but in a managed way.
Right.
That's why we needed to have our young people, right?
Yes.
The parent would have to come and fetch the child and so on. So we put that in place as Gauteng in 2020, and it worked well. And I think because of the successes of that program, then the president then expanded it nationwide. And that's why we have what we call the Presidential Youth Employment Initiative.
I understand.
That is now nationwide.
I understand. Ms. Moleke, you mentioned something that to me sounds like an absolute headache. Managing kids within a household is bad enough, and you guys have taken on the task of managing, children and youth all over the country with the same protocols. As you mentioned, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to adhere to certain protocols while managing education, right? So how successful has the initiative been since inception?
It has been very successful. I think the fact that the president decided to make that nationwide, for us it was a vote of confidence in what we started as Gauteng with the Youth Brigades. So the first year in 2020 during the COVID, it was a great success. These young people were not just taking temperatures and making sure that the social distancing and so on. They were also giving us reports. If you can just go back to the time of the pandemic when it started, we needed to have statistics of people who tested positive, who were showing signs and so on. So they, from the COVID management perspective, it was very impactful because they would give us statistics as well, together with the schools on what was happening in the schools, right? But secondly, it helped the education system. So the teachers could focus on teaching.
Yes.
When they were there to manage the learners.
Right, instead of having
to do both.
Also manage
the crisis.
That nobody knows anything about, and then also try to teach the youth, I understand, yes.
Right. So in what happened as well in many schools is that, because remember the protocols then were that in the morning you must manage the coming in. So it's a temperature sanitization, making sure that there are masks and so on. When during break, manage that. And then after school, manage that. Then some schools were very smart. They saw these young people, they are there during the day. So they figured, maybe let's use them. So some of these young people then started helping the schools with administrative tasks. So they improvised because the young people were there during the day. So we were placing them there from the morning. And I mean, the MEC Lusufi used to call them the people who were in the front line of COVID.
Yes.
So what they did, I don't think we have ever said and appreciated that, because they were in the front line. So they would take temperatures of learners, teachers, and everyone who would go into the school. Right. So they were in the front line. So they helped in managing COVID at the time. But again, as I said, then they started helping the education sector itself by providing some administrative responsibilities and so on. So they helped in education. And, the PYEI, as it progressed then, it took that as well into account. And, we'll talk about some of the initiatives that are happening in the PYEI. But what we also saw is that, because remember in 2020 it was COVID and the economy was closed.
Yes.
Then when the economy started opening up a little bit, what we saw was that some of the young people that were on the Youth Brigades program, because they now had access to the labor market,
yes,
they left the program to go to better opportunities.
Oh.
What better impact?
So the program also had an impact on
helping young
giving
people.
them the foot in, the foot in the door into the labor market, as you mentioned earlier.
And
on.
that makes us very happy when a young person leaves the program.
Yes.
It's an excitement for us, especially if they leave and they move into a permanent job.
Right.
So we've seen that. So that's significant impact for us as we measure the successes of the program. So it helped from the health perspective, it helped in the education system,
sector, yes.
But also it helped them as young people, because then they started getting opportunities. But one of the things that we are finding, as we move now to the PYEI, it also started during the Youth Brigades. What we are finding is that now young people are saying, I didn't know I love teaching. Having been there, interacting with the children at schools and gaining that experience.
Right.
So now we're getting young people saying, I love teaching, I want to go into teaching.
Yes.
We're trying to sort out the bursaries for them.
Which brings it full circle and feeds back into the education system.
Into the education system. So there you see the impact. But,
yes.
With the PYEI, so what happened with the PYEI is, there's this concept that there is work, but there aren't enough jobs, right? And between the Youth Brigades and the PYEI, I think we've proved that there is work, but there aren't jobs. Now, how do we as a country begin to think outside the box about jobs?
Yes.
One of the feedbacks that we got, the categories, so we've got categories of feedbacks that we get from these programs, right? So one of the feedbacks that we got was from the teachers. And it started during the Youth Brigades. So some teachers were saying, thank God, for the first time, I can focus on teaching.
Yes.
And I'm not coming home tired because I have to manage the kids.
Yes.
Because we've got teacher assistants there, these young people,
Yes.
who are helping with that.
Mm.
So the teachers themselves rave about the program because it has relieved them of administrative duties, managing of kids, and so on.
Which also gives them a better, a feeling of relief. It helps them wake up in the morning and go back and do their job and do it well. That leads me to my next question, because you've just mentioned how much impact it's had on not just the education sector, but also the people that have been put into the program. We've seen a steady decline, a year-on-year decline between 2021 and 2022. How was this accomplished? Because you've mentioned a couple of things before, but you mentioned a couple of things now in your answer. But how was that decline in the unemployment rate accomplished within the youth?
Number of reasons. With COVID, now we all know how to manage COVID, or we think we know. It's we understand it better. The economy started opening up, and with that, we're seeing young people going back into jobs.
Yes.
And hence you would see the decline. So, with COVID, during COVID, everything closed down. So the unemployment rate was very high. Now you're seeing that decline, and it's partly because of the opening up of the economy and young people getting into jobs. But I think some of the initiatives that we've put in place have also helped. I mean, in the PYEI, we have, since its inception, we have been putting something like 30 to 40,000 young people into opportunities in the schools. And what we've seen is we have a significant number of young people who are exiting the program, and they are exiting to go to better job opportunities. So you see the opening up of the labor market for these young people has worked. That as an intervention, it has worked. So young people are moving into better opportunities because of the experience and the skills that they would have gained through the PYEI.
Through the program,
But again, as I said, because the economy has opened now, more opportunities are there for young people, and they are taking advantage of the opportunities. So I think we'll continue to see some decline, but we need to do more. We need to do more as government, as the private sector, because as I said, through the PYEI, we've proven that there is work.
Yes.
We just need to think about how we create jobs.
Right.
The South African Education Council of Educators says has started a project now where they are investigating having teacher assistants in schools on a permanent basis, right? Because
the program has shown how much it can, help the education sector.
Education
having
sector.
Someone to assist with and helping the teacher focus on teaching.
Right.
I understand.
So if we can get that right, imagine the number of jobs that we can create just in the education system by putting in teacher assistants. Even if it's just 1 or 2 per school, it would make a huge impact. Right. So I think we are yet to see the long-term impact of the program, but even now we can talk of the impact. One of the other areas of impact that we hardly talk about, we got feedback from communities, parents appreciating. Firstly, for most of these young people, it's income that never existed.
Yes.
And they feed their families with that. But also parents appreciating that my kids were loitering around, not having anything to do. Now they wake up, they bath, they look clean, and they go to work.
Yes.
And that's super appreciated by communities and the parents. So whichever way you look at it, young person, the education sector, the health sector, communities, households, it has had a significant impact. And I think it has also shown the passion of government on addressing this issue of youth unemployment in particular. We will not be able to create all the jobs, but if we can just do this across different sectors and think differently about the jobs, because there's work. So how do we then create jobs through the work that exists? I think we can go far as a country in addressing the issue of youth unemployment in particular.
I definitely agree with you. I can see that the program itself is causing a ripple effect and causing other programs sort of unintentionally to help, tackle the problem of unemployment. It is a daunting task. It is an ambitious task. And we salute you for taking on a project such as this. But obviously, as big as this project is, it does require multiple stakeholders within their respective regions to, give report backs and take on their individual tasks. A task this big has to be broken down into their respective regions. We're going to take a look at some of those stakeholders across their different regions.
Good morning. I'm the principal of Rand Girls School, situated in Johannesburg. We are privileged to be one of the schools. We were allocated public youth to our school, and the impact we experienced is very positive. Experience during COVID times, definitely positive. We were first allocated COVID screeners who assisted us a lot, in the sense of that we did have COVID cases here at the school, teachers and learners, but nobody got infected at the school. And that is actually because we had proper screening done every day. Also during the COVID times, classes had to be cleaned twice a day at least, and that was also a huge assistance for us, for having them to assist us, because we've only got 5 people employed by government as general assistants to assist us in classes. So that helped a lot. We were allocated at first 20 people, but now we are down to 10. And the reason is that some of them found employment somewhere, for which I'm very thankful for. But others also decided to further their studies, and that's why we are up to 10. But at this stage, I must say, still very positive in the sense of that we have 3 teachers assistants allocated. A huge help during COVID times, but also now. Let the learners know them. I trust them so much that they can also supervise a class if a teacher is not here. So the experience that we had with our public youth was very positive.
I'm a principal of Fontaine Secondary. The PYEI program was a very useful program to us, because those guys who were actually employed to do the work, being the EAs and general assistants, were helping the school in terms of attendance, keeping learners in their classes, doing the work that the educators were supposed to do, marking of registers, and in terms of cleanliness, maintaining cleanliness within the school premises and even in the classes. And, we are, however, happy about the fact that the department managed to assist us to a certain extent, and we hope we will take it from where we have left, and we'll move forward, hoping that the result will be improved. Unfortunately, the program has come to an end, and we will miss them, unfortunately.
We are very grateful about their presence at the school, because when they were here, we didn't have challenges in the classrooms, because they were able to keep the discipline in the classrooms. They were able to help the teachers in making the DBE books, and apart from that, they were able to keep the discipline or general behavior of the learners even during the break times. And we have those who were working in the garden, those who were cleaning the surroundings. They were doing the work so effectively. We had those who were helping us with health issues. So when learners are sick, they were able to communicate with the parents telephonically, so that they can collect the learners who are not well at school. So we are very thankful about this program, and we wish that it can continue. We'd like to thank the department for initiating this. Thank you so much.
The insert already touches on this, but I would like to go over to the PYEI project manager, Ms. Lydia Petla, who will give us a bit of an in-depth view on what kind of jobs have been created by this program, how they pay out, who needs to apply for this program, and what sort of criteria they need to meet. Go.
The kinds of jobs that are out there that they can apply for is education assistant, abbreviated as EA, and general school assistants, abbreviated GSA. The requirement for all the EA jobs is that you must have a minimum of matric and a post-qualification is recommended. For the GSA, you need not have a matric, but it is recommended that you have a matric. And then the people who can apply, it's all South African citizens residing in Gauteng permanently, aged between 18 and 34. You must be 35 next birthday. So when you apply, you must be 34. And the stipends has been varying. For phase 1, it was 3.5. For phase 2, it was 3.8. And now for phase 3, the stipend was paying 4,040 rand a month. And then we only deduct 1% for UIF. The process that the young people have got to go through to apply is that they've got to register their profile on the Harambee website, which is called sayouth.mobi. You get into the system, you register your profile. Once the positions are applied and advertised externally, then you go into the profile. What you would need is either you register with your ID number or you register with your home address, and then you would need the password. In an event that you forgot your password, there is a key that says forgot password, and your password will be reactivated. But in an event where you cannot reactivate your password, there is a link to an email that you can send to request your password to be activated, or you can phone the SA Youth, where they will take you through step by step to register your password. The greatest challenge that the young people come across when applying is the fact that when the adverts are open for application, there is quite an influx of people trying to apply. So there is a downtime at one point. You might find the system collapses at a particular point, so you are unable to go through. But the solution is that you have to keep on trying until you go through. And what we recommend is that try in the early hours of the morning, around 1 a.m. or so, when not a lot of people are trying to apply. Then in that way, you are sort of guaranteed that you would beat the traffic that goes through the system when applying.
We are still in studio with the GRCA CEO as well as the PYEI project sponsor, Ms. Percy Moleke. You mentioned earlier on that there are so many people that have benefited from this program. I'd like to take a moment to meet some of those success stories, yes?
Sure, let's do that.
The first time I heard about the PYEI was through the internet when I was searching for a job. So I went on the internet and applied as a COVID screener. However, now I am an administrative assistant, and day-to-day basis I mark registers, I make sure that I help the parents and with anything that the learners need.
So like at the age of 20, I was unemployed, and my sister helped me with the career, the project. Like she was the one who found out about the project online, and this project helped me a lot. It helped me with the money-wise, the salary. I was able to buy whatever I was in need of, and it also with the experience, I was able to work with other people and experience a few about the occupation.
Started working as a screener. And then when the project was extended, and then I was moved to the office, assisting the admin. Working at the office was never simple, but then I really enjoyed working at the office because I got used to it. The experience was very nice. I'm pleading to the department to extend the project because we were already taking the job as our daily thing so that we can provide for ourselves and our families. So the experience was very, very nice, and then I liked it very much.
Well, before I actually started out here under the program, I used to be a creditor clerk, and then I was unemployed for like a couple of months. And then after some time, like I heard about this opportunity, and it was like the government was like, "Here's an opportunity for you." I applied, and by the grace of God, I got called. I've been working here for like 10 months because we got extended this year, and the opportunity has been quite riveting. It's been fantastic. I love it. It's very nice. It's very educational. It's stimulating, and it grows your mind. It grows your energy. And it grows your horizon. It's very nice.
Has sort of enhanced my skills, communication skills. I was more of a person who's sort of introverted, so this has sort of put me in a place where I sort of had to interact with people. So it took me out of my comfort zone.
I learned to interact with other people. Like me also, I was like a very shy person. So I've managed to go out there and do everything freely, and yeah, it has been a very good experience for me.
Basically, we help maintain learners' discipline in the classroom, and we help them with their schoolwork whenever the educator is absent. Through this project, it has stimulated my passion to become an educator myself, because through the interaction with the learners, I've realized that we connect, and that makes me very happy because through our connection, it has stimulated me to become an educator, and I'm very happy that their results have improved since I've been serving as an assistant.
That was very interesting hearing from some of the program beneficiaries, yeah?
Yeah, and there's many more. There's many more. So it has benefited a whole lot of young people in Gauteng, but also nationwide, because the PYEI is nationwide. So very interesting.
I think the question on a lot of our minds is it's very good to see the progress and the positive feedback from a program like this. The question we have, or the question that we think about with programs like this, is how sustainable is this kind of program?
You know, that's a good question, because sustainability in this instance comes with funding. So without the funding, we are not able to continue with it. We are hoping that the model has shown the powers that be that this can be done. Maybe not in as a large scale, but at least we can begin to think about creating job opportunities for our young people in the schools. But imagine if we were to do it in every health center, in every government department. In fact, when we started with the youth brigades, we put young people also in government departments in Gauteng to help with the screening, in the mornings, and temperature taking and all of that. So imagine if we were to do something like that. So as government, we are proving that we can create some jobs. But again, as I said, it's a question of funding. And we don't want government to be the creator of all these many jobs. What we are also saying is, let's challenge the private sector and the NGO sector. Let's think in our own spaces. What work exists that we can turn into jobs and be permanent jobs? I mean, technology is proving to us that we have to think outside the box when it comes to jobs. But also for young people, one of the things that they must then think about is, given all of these that have been shown, how do I take advantage and create opportunities for myself?
Yes.
Right. So some of the young people that we put on the PYEI, and the project manager will talk to you about that, are what we call general assistants. So these are maintenance people, so to speak. Now, we know every school, the door will break, the glass will break, right? Now, that's an opportunity there for a young person to think about being an artisan. And then providing services to the school.
Schools for general maintenance.
For general maintenance,
yes.
right? So it's not just us as government and the private sector creating the jobs, but that's entrepreneurship right there.
I like that idea. That encourages the youth, I think, to not just sit and wait for government to provide answers. It also gives them the ability to think for themselves, think about where I can find an opportunity, maybe myself approach and develop my own program within my community where I can approach the private sector, for example, with a similar program. And I love that. I love that. All right, the final word is yours, Ms. Moleke. Tell us, will there be a phase 4 of the PYEI program? Okay, all right. We will accept that.
There will be. So we are, in fact, we've started with the recruitment.
Is it?
For phase 4. And we are hoping to start as the academic year starts in February. We will be having almost same number of young people in the school, so from February until around August, because that's how far our funding goes. So there is a phase 4. Young people are already applying. We have so many applications already on the system that shows the need for this program, the desperation out there as well. So we are looking forward to phase 4, and with that as well, one of the things that we'll be doing, and I hope when we get the phase 4 report, some of the things that will show is the training that we want to give these young people as they are on the program. So some of them have been trained already, so we train them on work readiness programs and so on, but we also want to give them further training so that they think about exit, when they exit the program, they can go somewhere and hopefully it will help them and make it better for them in the labor market.
Of course. I think the number of applications doesn't just show the number of the desperation, but I also think it shows the opportunity that is available for a program like this and many programs like this to develop and grow at scale.
And that's why we want to one of the things that we don't do well as government is we don't talk about the successes of our programs. And we need to talk about them, because with that, you then are showing the opportunities that exist and that are out there. And what we can do, right? Because now we're dependent on government funding. But in the same spirit that we did the Solidarity Fund during COVID, why can't we do something like that for tackling youth unemployment with the private sector, right? Put money into, and as we say, we are showing that there's work. But, so if we put money in there, these young people, we place them in the schools that are next to their homes, so they don't have to pay for transport, because we know transport is expensive. And they appreciate this little money that they get, right? So we're looking forward to phase 4, and we are hoping that we will get more money to continue with the program and make it sustainable for both us as a country, the education sector, and our young people as well.
It is very clear that this is a very important initiative that has already had such a huge impact on the young South African lives of this country. For more information, please dial the toll-free number on your screen right now or visit sayouth.mobi. Thank you so much to the men and women who have taken the initiative to implement this program all across the country. And thank you so much to our guest, Ms. Percy Moleke, for shedding some light on this very incredible program.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and all the best to the men and women who are applying for phase 4. And we really appreciate the work that our young people are doing in the schools with us. So thank you so much to our young people.
Definitely, and it is a pleasure. And it's clear, according to the numbers, there are still so many that can benefit from this program, but that is all that we have time for today. Until next time, my name is Jesse Suntele, signing out.